So last night, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure just about every single one of you watching this knows and realizes last night, YouTube went out. YouTube went down. And from my estimations, YouTube was down probably about an hour, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And that's on the East Coast of the United States. I know that in South America, at least in Ecuador, it wasn't even down. So somewhat know how servers work and server farms and where's it coming from and all that stuff. But it wasn't down there, but it was down here. And I've seen a lot of videos go up this morning and even going up last night and talking about the YouTube going down and the internet going down. And I'm just wondering, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm certainly part of this problem, so I'm not trying to point fingers at anyone, but when YouTube went down last night, what did some of you do for that hour? I actually talked to a human being, so imagine that. But what will some of you do if YouTube goes down for good? I mean, literally, what will you do? There's a lot of you, and I'm very glad that there's a lot of you out there that watch YouTube. I'm very glad that there's a lot of you out there that depend upon YouTube for spiritual enrichment and spiritual nourishment and spiritual learning and understanding and training. I'm very glad about that, obviously so. And yet I have to ask the question, what are you going to do if YouTube goes down for good? If YouTube is your source for spiritual inspiration, what are you going to do if YouTube goes down for good? If YouTube is your source for spiritual instruction, what are you going to do if YouTube goes down for good? If YouTube is your source for spiritual learning, what are you going to do if YouTube goes down for good? What are you going to do? And it's not just YouTube. What if the internet goes down? What if the power goes out? What if the grid collapses? What are you going to do if YouTube goes down for good? Where are you going to get your spiritual inspiration, your spiritual knowledge, your spiritual learning, your spiritual training, your spiritual understanding? Where are you going to get it from? What you going to do, brother, if the internet going down breaks out all over you? What you going to do? It's a sobering thought. It's a sobering thought. Well, I have some suggestions for you. A great first steps, and this is baby steps. I think a great first step is to start saving PDFs to your computer hard drive, or even save them to zip drives, thumb drives, whatever you call those things. Save them to those drives. So if the internet does go out, if you still have a computer and you still have electricity and you still have a battery or a battery, you can get access to these things called books. Anybody remember books? Baby steps. Have PDFs saved. And then if YouTube goes down for good, if the internet goes down for good, you can access esoteric spiritual information on electronic books. Now, what if the power's out? What if you don't have a battery? What if you don't have a computer? Then what do you do? Well, you're going to have to start, and I would recommend that you start getting a hold of some of these things called books. This is what they look like. They're made of paper. They have words in them, and you sit down and you read them. You really do. You sit down and you read these things. Sometimes you'll have to have glasses, but you sit down and you read these things. You just open it up and say, the ancient Hermeticists use the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all, the word contemplation also being frequently employed. But the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root meaning to reach out, to stretch out. And so the act of attention is really a mental reaching out, extension of mental energy, so that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into the real meaning of attention. That's how you use a book. That's how a book works. And if you notice, you don't have to plug one of these in. There's no cords. There's no batteries. All you do is pick it up, open it. The universe and all it contains is a mental creation of the all. Verily, indeed, all is mind. The all creates in its infinite mind countless universes which exist for aeons of time, and yet to the all, the creation, development, decline, and death of a million universes is as the time of the twinkling of an eye. That's how you use books. And guess what? It doesn't matter if YouTube goes down if you have books. It doesn't matter if the internet goes down if you have books. It doesn't matter if the electricity goes down if you have books. It doesn't matter. All you have to have is the ability to carry a book. But what happens if you can't carry books? What happens if you got to bug out and you can't grab your books? What happens if your books get burned up? Well, there's an old saying in the Bible, and I don't totally agree with it, but there's some diamond in the dung. It says, "Thy word have I hid in my heart." What that really means is memory. And there's two steps to this. We've got to begin to, I would recommend that you begin to discipline yourself and begin to memorize. First of all, you got to read. And second of all, begin to memorize. And let me tell you, just by the act of reading, you're memorizing. And if you get to the place where you don't have the books to read anymore, you'll be amazed how much you remember, especially if you have life track analysis. But anyway, memorize. And then beyond that, get into the soulish, spiritual, esoteric, incorporeal nature of yourself, where you remember every single thing you've ever seen, every single thing you've ever heard, every single thing you've ever done. The masters called this the comforter, which would bring to your mind all things that he said, all things that the Father said, all things of a spiritual nature that you've ever seen or heard. They're all still up here. You just haven't learned how to access them yet. And this they can't shut down. This the grid can't take down. This you don't have to carry around. This is always with you. So what are you going to do if YouTube goes down for good? Start getting PDFs, start reading books, start memorizing, start getting into your soulish, spiritual, real self, and begin to learn to read and understand and access your analytical mind. Get your comforter activation. Get your live track analyzed and repaired. It might be the most important thing that you ever can do. Because if your life track is analyzed and repaired, and you've got the comforter activation, and you've got the hardwire connection to the divine database, it doesn't matter if YouTube goes down for good. It doesn't matter if the internet goes down for good. It doesn't matter if there's any electricity, because you've still got the connection to the divine. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. You can reach me at jeffreydaugherty.com or newcosmicknowledge@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the last generation of real humans. Make some plans, make some preparations, and let's get busy.